Next up, we've got Feh. Feh is from Mother, originally from Liberia, but has worked at both Widens and Goodby in his time, was responsible for things like the IKEA cats, and also the Got Milk campaigns at Goodby, which are sort of amazing pedigree. He's currently working on HTC globally, and I think it's a really interesting topic. It's going to be talking about, I guess, the role of quality in this new age of digital creativity. If you want.
Hello. It's funny, like, I wouldn't really call myself a digital guy, but I think a lot of the work that we do from a creative standpoint, information that I consume is pretty much on the internet. So my news, entertainment, and all that comes from there. And I think that there's been an acceptance of the lack of poor quality on the internet based on from 5 years ago. And so the work that clients tend to invest in, it's sort of separate pockets that we tend to use for production. So TV would get like a massive production, and sometimes digital becomes an afterthought. So what we try to do is pretty much look at the way we sort of develop projects overall, right? And the main thing is that we found that when you bundle up projects together, it kind of makes clients feel a bit more at ease when they invest heavily in digital. So, it's probably best to explain it with some of the projects we've been doing. So we start by looking at the behavior of how people consume information, right? So if you do a television campaign, typically that tends to be a big idea, but we started to look at what we can do more as rich ideas. Rich ideas in a sense where you actually can communicate the same thing through different outlets. So everything you produce has its own sort of feel and so forth. For example, you look at the MasterCard campaign from years ago. It's like the Prices campaign was a big TV idea that you can easily translate into outdoor, into a magazine and so forth, and radio. However, it's just sort of pretty much matching a similar, way of communicating. However, with the campaigns that we've been doing for IKEA, for example, it's like we can bottle up all the production into one shoot. You get to have digital production, you get to have online films that sort of tell the full story, that sort of looks at the way people actually consume information on the internet. So, sort of rambling, let me sort of step back a little second. It's probably best to start with the HTC things. That's probably what I'm most excited about right now. HTC has pretty much, they've grown dramatically from a brand that's been talked about by consumers on the internet, via Facebook, via YouTube, via all the different channels that we use, Amazon and so forth. So the campaign idea was to pretty much use recommendations to sort of grow the business, similarly to how they've been doing that. And so that as recommended by campaign basically takes the product and puts it in the hand of consumers. Now, the reason why it was difficult to try and show that is because if you show stuff that's really overproduced on the internet, right, it tends to seem fake, right? So there's this balance of how do you get good quality at the same time of making things seem real, because the internet does seem to look at things that have poor quality seem as if it's real, right? So if you bottle up your entire production together, so you say we're going to do our television, we're going to do our press, we're going to do our outdoor, we're going to do all our internet stuff all in one, and also have an experiential aspect that brings in people who are not biased, who aren't connected to the campaign at all, for example, bloggers and so forth, into one big shoot. You get all these elements to sort of showcase the entire campaign and have credibility to it. So the idea was to take, HTC wanted to highlight the camera feature that they had. They had a main feature they want to talk about, which is taking photos and videos at the same time. Right? So the idea was to take a student photographer and throw him out of a plane with a model, with a skydiving crew, and lighting crew and makeup artists and so forth, and see if you can actually take the perfect shot while falling. Now, that seems very far-fetched, right? And anything that we produce without having a witness audience, it'll seem like it's fake. So that's when we had the experiential aspect come in and say, okay, we need to have an event for these guys so they can actually blog about it as it's happening so we know that this is real. We also had a TV production there showcasing, capturing what the photographer is shooting. We also captured videos that's on the photographer's camera that witness exactly what happened when he fell at 126 miles per hour onto the ground. We also then followed the model who jumps out of the plane so that online users can actually get an experience of using the phone itself to take photos at the same time and videos while the model's falling. So there's all these different aspects of, you know, an experience that you get, which is different in each case, but it's still pointing to the same production, as opposed to dividing those things up. And what we've been trying to do at Mother is trying to figure out how do we maximize, you know, all these productions under one budget, one small production, where you're getting a lot more than you would previously. Because, for example, at Goodby, what we would do is you have your budget for production, you have your budget for online, you have a budget for press, and you end up spending 3 times more than you actually would if you bundle everything together. And I think the quality starts to drop on the other things that sort of feel like afterthoughts, because it's not media for TV is already bought for those, and the digital stuff sends you really can't qualify why, you know, you should invest money into it. So the success that we've had with this is that we're getting a lot more elements and we're getting a lot better quality out of the work that we're making, simply because of the fact that we're sort of bundling things up together. And I think because of the speed and the quality you get from Vimeo, YouTube, high-def videos, and stuff like that, people are expecting a lot more from the quality that you see on the internet. And hopefully, you know, things will continue to get better. And we find it really exciting at Mother, and a lot of companies are doing it as well. So I think that whole shift is really, you know, moving us forward.